Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Tuli Patel. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and the words got stuck in my throat. I'll start again. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. My name is Tuli Patel. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Summit, New Jersey. Thank you all for being here. If you're online, won't you please take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat and also share the link to this worship service with your friends and family so that we might get to know you a little bit better. Our service this morning comes to you from the original and continued lands of the Lenni Lenape. We are a radically inclusive religious community, and we respect both the interdependent web of all existence as well as the inherent worth and dignity of all beings as we work towards making our world a more just place for everybody. This morning, I invite you to, after the service, support our coming-of-agers on their journey to discovering their own theology. Reverend Robin, my colleague, will be going with them to Boston next weekend to explore the many mysteries and depths of the Boston Unitarian Universalist world. And so you're invited to support their journey by buying cookies, and I decided no hot cider. It's too hot for hot cider. But you can have cocoa and cool cider. And also next weekend, I'll be honored to be here with Reverend Catherine Morn, who is the Executive Director of the UUSC, the Unitarian Universalist Services Committee. And so I invite you all back next Sunday to hear Reverend Mary Catherine Morn preaching. For now, I invite you to take a deep breath, let go of everything that it took to get here. The walk, maybe, the drive, maybe, the things that you saw that were a little bit unsettling, your recognition of the weather and how it seems a little strange for the first Sunday in November, but change and transformation is upon us. Take a deep breath and let us begin our worship service together.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be joined today with Dennis and Joëlle and John. We're going to start by singing hymn 1023, Building Bridges. 1023. So please stand in body or spirit and join in singing. Now, we'll be doing this in a round. So Joëlle will be starting off, and then the second time around, we'll start doing it incrementally. And you can feel free to just join in and have your voice kind of enmesh with all of ours.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all our divisions, I reach out to make such sweet harmony. With all of our voices between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Good morning, Beacon.
Good morning.
My name is Wim Sveldens, and we now light our chalice. On the evening of Election Day, as anxiety rises for many, we call forth the light of calm, clarity, and vision. On this beautiful fall day, In the last few days of vibrant colors, we call forth the flame of insight and gratitude. In this month of Alzheimer awareness, we kindle compassion and kindness. In this community of constant change, we choose to be a beacon of transformation.
This next song that we are singing is by Joe Crookston. It's called Good Luck, John. It's from a parable that many of you may recognize. We chose it because it deals with change and how perspective can change. John had a horse and the horse ran away. Bad luck, bad luck. John had a horse and the horse ran away. Bad, bad luck. Bad, bad luck, the neighbors did say. Bad luck, John, has come your way. Bad luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. The horse came back with a wild mare. Good luck, good luck. The horse came back with a pretty white mare. Good, good luck. Good, good luck, the neighbors did say. Good luck, John, has come your way. Good luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. The mare kicked John and broke his leg. Bad luck, bad luck. The pretty white mare broke John's leg. Bad, bad luck. Bad luck, John, the neighbors did say. Bad luck, John, has come your way. Bad luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. With a broken leg, he missed the draft. Good luck, good luck. The army came and walked on past. Good, good luck. Good, good luck, the neighbors did say. Good luck, John, has come your way. Good luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. His leg grew worse and it would not heal. Bad luck, bad luck. And the pain was all that John could feel. Bad, bad luck. Bad, bad luck, the neighbors did say. Bad luck, John, has come your way. Bad luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. The nurse she came to take care of. Good luck, good luck. And the two of them, they fell in love. Good, good luck. Good, good luck, the neighbors did say. Good luck, John, has come your way. Good luck has come your way. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say. He said, maybe, it's hard to say.
Good morning, Beacon.
Good morning.
My name is Mary Lee Crawley, and my pronouns are she and her, and I am a chaplain here at Beacon. Chaplains extend the spiritual care of our community, and one ritual of that spiritual care is our community candle lighting. Together, we light candles of joy, sorrow, and gratitude. This morning, we kindle a light for Alzheimer's Awareness Month, for all the many families and individuals impacted by this disease, and with a hope that a cure will be discovered. We kindle a light for Mariam Ahmadi, the first family member of the Afghan family we are sponsoring. She arrived last Thursday night, and yay! We offer our continued support and hope that all her family members can soon join her here, and we thank the many Beacon members and members of Yeshiva University for making her sponsorship possible. And we light a candle of solidarity and support for all the Jewish UUs and Jews across New Jersey who have been impacted by the recent threats to synagogues. For this and so much more, we invite you to come forward now and light a candle here in our sanctuary or wherever you are.
Thank you, Joan. Let us ready ourselves for a few minutes of quiet and meditation. You want to find a comfortable spot, something that you can hold for about 3 to 5 minutes. It helps to have your feet on the floor and your spine straight against the back of the chair. I invite you to close your eyes or gaze at a spot softly in front of you. Slacken your jaw. Allow your eyes to move away from the eyelids so they're not straining. And settling in, First, we begin by just scanning our external environment, noticing faraway sounds, nearby sounds, feeling the touch of the air against our palms or our necks. Bringing our attention to our internal climate, noticing and acknowledging anything that might be arising, perhaps anxiety, perhaps restlessness, whatever it is, acknowledging it without judgment, suspending for a few moments the analytical part of our brain, just being present to what is here and now. The external weather systems are changing, and so too might be our internal systems. We remain awareness of change and transformation as we develop equanimity, focus, and concentration. I invite you to bring to mind a memory, any memory from the recent past, from long ago, and recall little details about it. Where were you? What was the environment like, both externally and internally? Can you smell what it was like? See what it was like? What did your ears hear? What did your skin feel? I invite you to take this memory and hold it metaphorically against your heart, as if it were a tiny baby or a kitten or a puppy. Feel its aliveness in your heart. Some memories fade, others take their place. Sometimes we recall things easily, at other times it takes effort. Many of us know loved ones who might be suffering memory loss, or we might fear it for ourselves. I invite you to hold yourself and any of these loved ones similarly in your heart space, as if it were a tiny baby or a kitten or a puppy. Extending to yourself and to those we love loving kindness, care, and compassion. We know that the only constant is change. With change comes transformation. New memories are created. New relationships are forged. I invite you to deepen your breath, become aware once again of this sacred space, this sanctuary, the people around you. Allow your breath to deepen. Bring your eyes back into focus if they were open, or gently open your eyes. Here ends our meditation.
Our next song is from the Teal Hymnal, hymn 1006. It's one we have not sung here before, so I welcome you to stay seated and follow along should you like to.
grace will not let me be. Help me. I won't speak of this ache. Inside light eludes me. In the silence of my heart, I'm praying. I keep on day by day, trusting light will guide me. Will you be with me through this time, holding me? You're my hope when I fear, holding on, believing. Deep inside I pray I'm strong. Blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Steve Kramer. I'm a part of the team that is developing the plans for our congregation's new building at 695 Springfield, which we purchased last year. We as a congregation have been yearning for a new sanctuary for over half a century. And in that time, we have explored many possibilities. We even purchased the property next door, and we developed a design for a new sanctuary there. But then we learned about 695 Springfield, a property that has almost 2 acres. It's surrounded by woods and parks, and we collectively jumped at the opportunity. In the space of about a month after learning about this property, we analyzed it, we had town meetings, and we voted as a sanctuary to purchase 695 Springfield in June of 2021. I think it's fair to say we were energized by the possibilities that this new site opened up for us. And I want you to know that there is a lot of work going on right now to help realize those possibilities. There's a committee that I'm on, which is the Facilities Expansion Task Force, which is working with the architect to develop a design. We have the capital campaign, which is focused on fundraising, and Beacon's board, which is doing a tremendous amount of work on this project. And of course, there's our architect, Louis Cherry, and his design team and consultants. Some of you had the opportunity to meet with him this summer when he had meetings with various groups in our congregation to understand how we operate and what we need in terms of a new building. And he is now ready to begin the design, and we look forward to sharing that with you in the new year. Building a new sanctuary is a change that we have been seeking, and I think it's one that we need. Because we as a congregation have been transforming ourselves, and it's something I've certainly seen in the 20 years that I have been a member. Today, we define ourselves as a radically inclusive congregation, and we work hard to live into that. In 2020, we voted to adopt Unitarian Universalism's 8th principle, in which we pledged to work to dismantle racism and build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. So how do these aspirations fit with our current building? Well, our building reflects our religious roots in New England Congregationalism, but we have to be honest, our building looks to the world like a Christian church, or as one member of Beacon clarified for me, a white Christian church. And that does not express exactly who we are now, and it does not express our aspiration to be radically inclusive. This room we are in is a treasure, and it's a miniature version of King's Chapel in Boston, where I think you're going to be going to next week. That's an historic building. It's 250 years old, and it houses a congregation of Christian Unitarians whose services are Anglican. So for that, the design makes perfect sense for that congregation, which, unlike us, maintains close ties to its Anglican traditions and Christian traditions. And both King's Chapel and this room and many other Protestant sanctuaries also reflect the importance that the Protestant Reformation placed on the sermon. The pulpit is front and center, and sight lines don't matter. because there's nothing visual happening up here. It's all preaching. So obviously a lot has changed in the 500 years since the Protestant Reformation in how we worship. A lot has changed in the last 5 years, and a lot more goes on up here than just preaching, though that's still very important. And I think we've all experienced the situation of being in this beautiful, intimate room and during a service and missing something important because we can't see. And I experienced it this morning because I couldn't see the musicians who were right above me. So I think we need a sanctuary and a building that reflect our current ideals and beliefs, as well as the way we worship today. And we need a building that is welcoming to everyone and that reflects the importance of radical inclusion, and that has enough space for everyone. We have an opportunity now to make an empowering change in our congregation's life, and we've already taken important steps in that direction. And I am very inspired by the courage our congregation has shown already in moving towards that change and all the challenges that come with it. So whether you've come through our century-old doors for the first time only recently, or whether you've been coming through those doors for many decades, we welcome you to join us and to continue to support our efforts to build Beacon's future together. Our morning offering for the mission and ministry of this community will now be most gratefully received.
Our reading today is from The Long Road to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in every way I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that run through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, earning my keep, marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedom I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me.
Thank you, Wim. Good morning, beloved. I'm Reverend Robin, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm hoping to spend just a little time with you today speaking about this month's theme, change, if that's okay. Nelson Mandela was unjustly imprisoned for 27 years, from the ages of 44 to 71. When recalling the moment that he was released, he said that he realized, quote, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and my hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." During those 27 years, Mandela would encounter layers of the struggle of freedom. While the outside world mostly saw it as the battle against apartheid in South Africa, the brutality of the system and the tenacity of freedom fighters using nonviolence, Mandela saw that political cause to end apartheid as an outward sign of an even deeper inward struggle. He knew that so long as his siblings across the country were not free, there was not true freedom, even outside the jail cell. And yet, at the same time, daily liberations were possible in the conscious act of transformation. Change was inevitable for Mandela, as it is, unfortunately, for all of us. Much of this change came at him. Unjust systems that punished him and threatened happiness at every turn, that robbed his childhood freedoms right from under him. Even in prison, where he lived for nearly 3 decades, the rules were constantly changing. New terrors emerged, and a network of information unfolded with the turmoil and poverty behind the prison gates. But Mandela found a way past change happening at him, like a passive target for an indifferent volley of harm. He discovered that if he followed a deeper truth, freedom, it would transform him, in his own words, as Wim just read, from a frightened young man into a bold one, from a law-abiding attorney into a criminal, from a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. The prison and the hard labor imposed on Mandela, the isolation and depravity of incarceration, was designed to wear away at him. but instead, it transformed him into the next leader of a new South Africa. Mandela would later recall of his visit back to the prison after being free for some time. There's nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you yourself have altered. On Friday afternoon, just before playing pickleball with a couple of Beacon members, I received a text message from Rabbi Aaron Glazer of Temple Sinai, just less than a mile from where we are now. She let me know that the threat had been mitigated, the threat made on Thursday against synagogues across New Jersey. I'd been in touch with Rabbi Aaron as Reverend Vernon Williams of the Interfaith Council. He and I are the officers of the council. We're in touch with Rabbi Friedman and Rabbi Orden. I sent my relief immediately to Rabbi Aaron, who responded, "You know, it would mean a great deal if you would consider coming to services tonight, even as the threat has been mitigated." So, of course, we got together a group, several Beacon members, faith leaders across Summit joined for their 6 o'clock service, and my son Kirk, who I think may have been drawn by the promise of challah at the end of the service. What I found was surprising even to me. As we came through the doors, I noticed that there were many more children than I was accustomed to seeing at a Shabbat service. And that only grew as the service began. And it was about 20 minutes into the service, looking through the bulletin, that I realized this was a family Shabbat. My stomach sank as I realized the decisions that must have faced the leaders of Temple Sinai for this monthly family Shabbat, scheduled long before, of course, any threat was made, how they had determined to go on, knowing that there would be more children than was usual in their sanctuary that evening. Kirk found a 5-year-old boy to play with, and so they played kind of on the side beneath the bronze memorial plaques. They found a toy Shabbat kit, and he dutifully put up the candles as the little boy put the plastic loaf of challah onto a plate and covered it. We sang songs of friendship and peace. In fact, one of the songs I wrote the line down, "How good it is, how sweet it is, sharing peace with one another." As I struggled through the Hebrew, I thought of the old story of the first century rabbinic sages Hillel and Shammai. Maybe you've heard this story. Hillel is known as the liberal, if you will, in the school of thought, the one who doesn't go by the letter of the law, but rather the heart of the law, the heart of teaching. Shammai, in contrast, is exacting and precise and wants to know exactly what the text says. They represent two schools of thought in Judaism. In this particular story of the two rabbis, a non-Jew approaches them, asking to be taught the whole of Torah while one of them stands on one leg. He's trying to be provocative, of course. Shammai gets upset and takes the bait, if you will, and gives the man an angry whack with a measuring rod. Hillel, in contrast, replies, "That which is hateful to you, do not unto another. This is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Now go study." In the service, they called forward the children to offer them a blessing under the huppah, and Kirk went forward. Kirk had never been in this sanctuary. We sang to the children, offering them this blessing and song, and I thought of millennia of persecution, pain and suffering, threat after threat after threat, and a good deal more, genocide and generational trauma. And out from all of that happening, that constant change thrust upon a people whose very temple was destroyed. And here we gathered in their sanctuary, singing songs of peace and blessing our children together. Following that thread of truth, that which is hateful to you, do not unto another. Choosing transformation in the face of threat and terror. On the way home, under a gibbous moon, I learned what that was during the oneg. It's when the moon is just past half full, but not totally full. Kirk asked me about the thread, and so I shared with him the story, not realizing that I used the same phrase everyone had been using. I said it was a credible threat, and Kirk looked perplexed. What does credible mean? He asked. I said, well, real, that it could happen. And then we both got quiet. And I thought about the service, the devotion of those of us gathered for peace and kindness, just as credible, just as possible, just as real. The future, beloved, depends not only on what happens, but how we are changed by what happens. The song we sang earlier, that Dennis and Joëlle led us in beautifully, thank you so much. And for those who are virtually with us, they're right there, which is why I keep looking up. It's based on a Zen parable of a man whose community keeps trying to determine the fate of events in his life, and the man keeps refuting, maybe. On and on it goes. There's many versions of the story told around the world. It's impossible, most of the time, to know the outcome of the changes we experience and the ultimate fate of our lives. It is harder and harder to know what is credible, what is real, likely to happen. Can our dreams and longings be as real as our fears and threats seem to be? On Tuesday, the country will vote once more. Just as we see a rise in hate crimes, everyone is on the edge. Are any of you a little anxious? And who can blame us, right? The names of poll workers, I don't know, maybe it's stereotypical, but most poll workers I know are in their 80s and just doing this out of a love for democracy and service. But the names of poll workers have been published, and they have received threats to their homes. We have candidates running promising to challenge every vote and to overturn the foundations of democracy. Many of us are rightfully worried about what might happen with these credible threats to something we hold most dear, our democracy. I personally long for the days when voting was almost mundane. You gathered in some rec hall with poll workers who were retired, and your biggest worry was whether or not you got your sticker. On Thursday night, I joined Beacon members Kristen Peck and Ellen Boylan, who's here today, and Bev Aubrey, to meet Professor Ahmadi. After months and months of trying to get her safe passage from Afghanistan to the U.S. As we waited at Newark Airport on the other side of a very long hallway and these kind of imposing doors. If you've ever been there, you know it says immigration and customs, and there are these like steel-looking doors that open occasionally, and a few people come out. And we were all a little nervous. We were joined by a professor from Hunter who has fought tirelessly for Miriam to get here, as well as Miriam's student, a colleague now. Miriam, a Muslim, will be sponsored by Yeshiva University, and a significant donor arose to pay all of her costs, someone who has never met her, who knew nothing about her. There we stood, all together, glancing at the doors in anticipation every time they opened, and at last, they opened, and she was there. The three, the professor from Hunter, the former student, now professor from Afghanistan, and Miriam hugged and cried and rested in each other's arms. I couldn't help but wonder, against all the terrible things about our species, how remarkable it can be for a people to follow that thread of something better than we are alone, something that draws us into a very real truth. As I looked at her bags, all of her belongings in 4 suitcases, and Professor Ahmadi's weary and yet kind eyes, I thought of what she has endured to get here, all that she left behind, her family, her home, a lifetime of work. I wonder what fueled her through the Taliban checkpoints and the constant fear, the perilous mountains to cross into Pakistan, the tenacity to return after her visa was denied. Surely it was more than fear that drove her, more than biological survival. And now that she was here, she very well could be embittered or feel vengeful toward those that threatened her life each day. But instead, she just kept hugging everyone, thanking everyone. The determination that a woman should be able to have her basic human rights, that gathered all of us across thousands of miles, across cultures, across languages. Change is inevitable, beloved. This we know. But transformation, that is optional. This week, we cannot predict what will happen any more than we could last week. But we can choose transformation. We can follow those truest threads in our being, whatever they may be, a commitment to freedom, to friendship and peace, a belief in our dignity and basic human rights. And we can, in the fiercest of changes, as a community of people bound only by our commitments, follow those threads together. Weavers of transformation who start with the first liberation within. Past the prisons of our captors, in the midst of the most credible threats, through the perilous mountains, this we can choose. Past even what we can control, we choose transformation for our children, for our grandchildren, for 7 generations from this moment. I close with the words of the poet Maya Angelou, her inaugural poem in January of 1993. It's entitled "On the Pulse of Morning." A rock, a river, a tree, host to species long since departed, mark the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dried tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us clearly, forcefully, "Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream." Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out into your siblings' eyes, into your neighbor's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, "Good morning." So let us greet the day we have yet been given. Amen.
We will be singing Morning Has Come, which is hymn 1000, the very first hymn in the hymnal. Would you please stand in body or spirit and join Joëlle, Dennis, John, all the people who led worship today, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, as we sing together hymn 1000.
Connecting across the aisles and the rows. In a world, beloved, that can be unkind, inconsiderate, and terribly hard.
Choose compassion.
In a time filled with rancor and division.
Choose unity.
In the presence of rising anxiety and even terror.
Choose love.
In the constant tumble of change toward us.
May we together choose transformation.
Amen.
Amen.